Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode review of the Book of Boba Fett. Today we're taking a look at Chapter 3, The Streets of Mos Espa. So we start off the episode with Boba just kind of getting familiar with his territory, the things that he now controls, or at least the things he says he now controls, because, you know, saying you control something and actually controlling something are kind of two different things. Like, I could say that I control the U.S. government, but I actually have nothing to back up that claim besides my say-so, and my say-so's worth pretty much nothing. So Boba's saying he controls Tatooine. It's like, so far, I don't think many people really think he does. So, which is part of the problem with, not the problem, that's part of Boba's problem in this episode today, is he's trying to actually prove that, yeah, no, I killed the last guy who controlled everything, ergo, I now control everything. Capiche? So he's getting the lay of the land. You know, here's everything that Jabba controlled. Here's everything that Bib Fortuna controlled. Here's everything that you should now control. When one of his little, I can't remember what the droid called him, but, you know, one of his subjects essentially comes in, and it's a nice little cameo from Stephen Root. I'm always up for some Stephen Root. For those of you guys that are not aware, Stephen Root is a well-known character actor. He pops up in pretty much anything and everything, and he always kind of plays different type roles. He's, like I said, he's a character actor, but he's always really fun to see on screen. He has a very identifiable voice. So sometimes if I don't recognize him in a role, I will hear his voice. I'm like, okay, no, it's him, because he does a lot of voiceover work. I don't think he's done anything Star Wars related prior to this. If he has, it's going to have been like a video game or something from a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I didn't even mean to do that. But so yeah, I mean, it was a nice surprise to see Stephen Root pop up, and so I'm like, oh, hey, look who it is. So that was fun, but of course he's immediately like, hey, I've got these youths that are kind of disturbing things on the streets of Mos Espa. Roll credits. Could you maybe deal with that, since you are the daimyo now? And Boba's like, okay, you know what? Fine. Whatever. I'll deal with this. Got to put up a strong front. So he goes down there, and yeah, sure enough, there's a bunch of youths down there, just not really doing much of anything. And as it turns out, they're modifying themselves with droid parts. I'm like, ooh, that's kind of interesting, but I feel like I've seen that somewhere before. I'm trying to think. It'll come to me later. So instead of like killing all of them or arresting them or you know, torturing them, what have you, that Stephen Root would prefer, Boba's like, hey, you guys want work? Come work for me. And they're like, yeah, okay, if you're paying, sure. And so he just kind of adopts all these wayward children that are just living on the street with their droid eyes and their droid arms, and their very bright colored Vespa speeder bikes, which is definitely something I'll get into here in a few minutes. And Stephen Root's like, you can't do this. No. And Boba's like, no, I am gonna do this. Here, you're being paid. Now drop your prices, because you're charging an arm and a leg, and it's Tatooine, and you sell water on Tatooine. You're already going to be making a killing, so you don't need to charge exorbitant prices. So, and then that was like 10 minutes of a cold open. It's like, oh, hey, there's the title. I forgot this show has title sequences. And so, in the streets of Mos Espa. And then, of course, we get back to Dreamland with Boba, back into the flashbacks. So last week, the episode was mostly flashback with a little bit of present-day stuff. This time it's reversed, where we have a little bit of flashback with mostly present-day stuff, where we see Boba after he has been adopted into the tribe of Tusken Raiders. He goes into Mos Eisley to talk with the Pikes, and we get a couple little cameos, so you can see that in the time that, you know, he's been with the Tuskens, it's probably been a couple weeks, and so the Empire has fallen in that time. People are starting to erect the Stormtrooper helmets on Pikes, because it's like, hey, we're done with these guys. We don't need to fear them any longer, even though the Battle of Jakku is still like a year away. And then Operation Cinder's probably commencing, but he rides into town on his bantha. We get a very, very quick blink and you'll miss it cameo from Pelimoto and her little pit droids from the Mandalorian. It's basically her. I doubt it was actually Amy Sedaris walking there. It was probably just someone they put in a wig, and it's like, people that look for that kind of stuff, they're gonna see that. They're gonna see it, and I'm like, oh hey, it's Pelimoto, cool, and her little pit droids. Just a fun little continuity thing. And so he walks in and says to the Pikes, "Hey, so you need to pay us tribute for the territories we own." And they're like, "Oh well, it's not the it wasn't the Nikto. I think I called them Nikto earlier, but it was or was it? No, this is a Nikto. This is a Nikto. I was about to say, wait, are they Nikto or Klatooinians? No, they're Nikto. They're Nikto. The Nikto swoop bike gang. They've already claimed that territory, and we've seen them in previous episodes. Roughing things up, like at Anchorhead. And so Boba's like, all right, well, I'll deal with the issue. And so he rides back to the village, but the village has been decimated. And who's it been decimated by? It's been decimated by the Nikto swoop bike riders, probably upset that they kind of stole their Boba stole their swoop bikes and kicked a bunch of them in the face and stuff. And so then Boba, very sad, he buries. Well, he doesn't really bury. He burns all the bodies, and then he leaves once again a wayward stranger in a strange land. Spoiler alert: we're not done with the Tusken Raiders, and I really doubt it was the Nikto that did that, even though their symbol was there. I'm pretty sure it's all going to lead back to the Pikes. I think in the next couple episodes we'll see Boba in more flashbacks, because my kind of thought was that the flashbacks were going to be done this episode, and then it was going to be present day stuff all moving forward. I don't think that's the case anymore. Now I think we're still going to get more flashbacks. Because if this was the last we're getting of the flashbacks, very, very quick. It was very rushed. And it's for that reason why I don't think we're actually done with the flashbacks. And I think we're going to deal with the Tuskens more. I think we'll see more of this particular tribe, because we didn't see the body of the lady, I don't think. We saw the body of the chief, but we didn't see the body of the lady, and we didn't see the body of the kid. So that leads me to believe that since we didn't see their bodies, they're still alive. Now, we saw the kid's stick, but I don't know if you're running out of there in a hurry and you accidentally drop your stick, you're not going back for the stick. Also possible that maybe the lady and the kid were gone like Boba was. Maybe they went out to hunt for those black melons or whatever they're called, to dig some of those up. Maybe the boy came of age, and so then the lady is now training him. Maybe the boy and the lady are related. Maybe that's mom and son. Who knows? We still don't know so much about this tribe, considering they just speak it. So, kind of, we get subtitles, but there's we still don't know everything about them. So I don't think they're gone. I think we'll see them again, and I think the Pikes are gonna. I think Boba's gonna hunt down the Nikto, and go, "How dare you kill these Tuskens?" They're like, "What are you talking about? We didn't kill the Tuskens. We don't even have bikes anymore. You stole them. Remember? you beat us up and then left with all our bikes. It was very humiliating. No one takes us seriously anymore. We've both been tricked. It was the Pikes that did this, and that's gonna play more into the present day stuff with Boba's now gang rivalry with the Pikes and them starting to usurp control more of Tatooine since they've allied themselves with the mayor. So let me see here. So yeah, I don't think we're done. I don't think we're done with the Tuskens. I think we're going to see more of them, which is good considering the way people are reacting to this episode. I think overreacting. It's people are like offended that the Tusken Raiders got killed, and I'm like, of course. I mean, call it. I mean, predictable, maybe okay, but I mean, it's. I think I don't. If we get the last however many episodes, because I think there's 7 episodes, and this was 3, so that's 5, 6. There's 4 more. There's 4 more left. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, there's 4 more. I'm not good at math, so there's 4 more. If there is no more flashbacks and nothing else to do with the Tusken Raiders for the next 4 episodes, then I'll revise this statement and go, yeah, no, that was not handled properly. But I don't think we're done with them, so I'm not going to completely pass judgment on that story arc yet, because, like I said, I don't think we're done with it yet. So I'm pretty sure that the Tuskens will be back, the boy and the woman probably, and we'll get some more completely defined motivations from Boba. So just because that is a complaint I've seen, I sort of kind of agree with, is that Boba doesn't really have too much motivation right now. It's like, why does he want to take over Tatooine? And I kind of speculated on this a little bit in like in the first review, or even and then the last review as well. But we still don't know. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing that we don't know at this point, because it's going to keep us guessing. And they're in the way that they're framing all of this with present day flashback, present day flashback, present day flashback, and that is the way that this narrative is being told. It's definitely, I think, going to be. I feel like there is going to be this big wow, whoa, holy cow, didn't see that coming moment. That is going to be kind of not to the same level of a Grogu moment like at the end of the first episode of The Mandalorian, where where Din and IG-11 peer in, and for the first time we go, oh, it's a Yoda. It's another member of Yoda's species, and it's a baby. Holy cow! This has never been done before. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be quite on the level of that, but I do think we are in for some sort of big revelatory moment that is going to be, whoa, this changes everything. And if they had done 3 episodes of flashbacks and then 4 episodes of present day stuff, I think people would get super invested by episode 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7 would go along, and then they would kind of peter off and go, oh, this is taking too long because I gotta wait a week in between episodes. Because I see a lot of that. I've seen a lot of that online too, and it's just like, this is the way we used to always watch TV. The last 5 years have been all on demand, and now everyone's spoiled. Anyway. So yeah, so yeah. I mean, that's kind of my thoughts on that whole thing. If you know, it's just some people are overreacting to it. I think this is just the way the story is being told, and you can't pass complete judgment on it until the whole thing is wrapped up, because I think we still have 4 episodes left. A lot can happen in 4 episodes, but that being said, this was a bit of a slower episode. There was a lot of groundwork being laid here. In some capacity, I think we could have done without a couple of the action sequences in this episode, actually, because there's really only 2. The fight with Black Chrysanthemum was actually pretty awesome. I really enjoyed that. But I will say that the cyborg tweens coming in, they came off as just a teensy bit silly. The one guy especially, it was dark, so I couldn't tell exactly who it was. I think it's the guy with the robot eye. But his weapon was like an electrified yo-yo or something. He was just swinging around. It was just a teensy bit silly. And here come these youths in with their electrified yo-yos and stuff to attack this gigantic 8-foot-tall evil Wookiee. It was just a little goofy, but Star Wars does stuff like that all the. It's not quite on the level of Rafflecopter lightsabers from Rebels, but it's up there. It's pretty close to that level of silly. It's like, I can appreciate that, but it does kind of take me out of it just a little bit. It's like, okay, that's kind of silly, but yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's just a little funny thing. So, but I can definitely kind of see some people that are definitely in the Star Wars should be all serious and should never be fun camp, which it seems like there's a great degree of them out there. I can definitely see how that would kind of rub them the wrong way. I don't necessarily agree with those type of people, because I like it when Star Wars is fun. I like it when Star Wars is dark too, of course, but I like it when Star Wars is able to have fun as well. I mean, look at A New Hope, the original Star Wars anything. It was fun. That was a fun movie, because the whole infiltration of the Death Star with all the banter and stuff, you've got a smile on your face. It's very high octane action, yeah, but I mean, you're not sitting there going, oh, this action is awesome. You're kind of go, oh, hey, that's a fun quip right there. It's like, nice girl, I'm beginning to like her. Either that or I'm gonna kill her, whatever Han says. I don't care what you smell. Get in there, you big furry ape. So it's like, Star Wars has always had that element of goofy fun to it. So electrified yo-yos are an interesting choice to add to that goofy fun for sure. But it's not the worst thing we've ever gotten. Jar Jar still exists. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about the episode overall. Just a couple little wrap up things. Danny Trejo shows up, and I'm like, oh hey, it's that guy. Gee, this whole thing kind of that's another kind of back of my mind. I'm trying to think. I've seen him somewhere else before. Where have I seen him before? I'm trying to think. And then a little while later, then we have a action scene that is a little slow. Somehow a little slow. I'm like, oh, Robert Rodriguez directed this episode, didn't he? And sure enough, he did, because this episode was like all the pros and cons of Robert Rodriguez, and kind of a lot of the things he's done in the past. Because the youths on their energetic motorcycle, on their multicolored Power Ranger Vespa speeders, that was very Spy Kids. Then the fact that they were enhancing themselves with droid parts to become cyborgs, that was very Alita Battle Angel, which is a movie he directed. And then the very painfully slow speeder chase through Mos Espa, that was very reminiscent of the first episode of Boba Fett, where we had that weirdly slow and not well choreographed fight, which is odd because I feel like when he's not working with kids, Robert Rodriguez is pretty good at directing action. I mean, we saw that earlier in Star Wars with Mandalorian: The Tragedy, which was, of course, Boba's kind of. Yeah, I mean, we saw him in the Marshal, but for like half a second at the very, very end. So for the Tragedy to be Boba's kind of big reintroduction into Star Wars, he just demolished all those stormtroopers, and that action was filmed pretty well. However, I do wonder if like maybe that was the cinematographer of the day that was really in charge of that more than Rodriguez. I mean, it's one of those weird things where it's like, how much is the director really responsible for on certain things? I know they get final say on or at least they should be on final cuts of things. And they're usually not choreographed, but Robert Rodriguez is a guy that likes to do like everything himself. You can see that with like Spy Kids and Shark Boy and Lava Girl and stuff, where his name is in the credits a lot. Because I can't remember if he composed the music for those or not, but I feel like, it's like he does the special effects. He of course does the directing, the choreography for action sequences and stuff. He just likes to do a lot of that himself. So I feel like maybe if he's doing some of that stuff himself again on Boba Fett, maybe he's not well suited for that type of thing, because now he's had two. The Black Chrysanthemum fight was pretty good, but he's now had two action scenes that have felt a little off, because there was that one in the first episode, which I didn't really mention, I don't think, in my review for that, but because that was just kind of a little niggle at the back of my head. I'm like, this is just a little off. Just a little off. It's just kind of oddly slow and not well choreographed. And of course, everyone's asking the question of why didn't Boba just use a jetpack? I feel like maybe an easy answer out of that would maybe be that the jetpack controls were in his helmet, and with the helmet out of his hands, he couldn't really. It's like maybe he could go straight up, but he couldn't with a punch of a button, but he couldn't really control it. Something like that. I don't know. But then we had this really slow speeder chase through Mos Espa, and I think a slow speeder chase through Mos Espa could work. Specifically, it being slow, if they did it intentionally and they poke fun at it. Where if it's these kind of slow moving speeders through the streets and they're chasing each other, and then it cuts back to Boba and Fennec on a rooftop. She says they're moving really slow. It's like you could easily catch them on the jetpack, and Boba goes, "Yeah, but this is more about them showing what they're made of more than actually catching." It's because he could easily catch them. If they did something like that, then I think the kind of slowish nature of it would work. But I don't know. I was sitting there during it. I'm like, this is weird. This is off. This is slower than it should be. So that was just kind of a oops, and maybe an oopsie daisy of like maybe you should have. It's like maybe even speed it up just ever so slightly in editing. Maybe you're watching, going, "Ooh, this is kind of slow. Hey, let's just speed it up a little bit." It's like, okay, maybe 1.5 speed. There, perfect. We fixed it. And it's like maybe that's all they had to do. But I actually really liked the multicolored, brightly colored Vespa speeders. I thought they were funny. Again, that's one of those goofy Star Wars things that I kind of enjoy. When Star Wars gets goofy, it's like, okay, that's my right type of goofy. And also, it's like, knowing these characters, they're buying droid parts to augment themselves. And it's like they probably would try to import these things off world because they did look very pristine and clean for being on Tatooine. So I think that is probably something that they saved up for, and they're a youth street gang, and they've got their brightly colored scooters, and so I don't know. For the characters that were driving them, I thought I bought it. If you put Boba Fett on one of those things, I'm drawing the line at that. No, that's weird. That's weird. But for the characters that had riding them, it's like, okay, this works. I'm down with this. And it did. The colors did pop. They did really pop whenever they're driving around very drab Tatooine with all the sand everywhere. Just sand hut this, sand building that. Everything's white or tan or kind of various shades of brown. It's not a very interesting color palette, so throwing in the bright red and blue Vespa speeders, which I'm just going to continue to call them that because it's funny. Throwing those in, it's like, okay, no, I like, and it did add a little splash of color to the action sequence. But it was so slow. And so it's like, and then the mayor's aide crashes into the stall of Yogan fruit or whatever. And even the Yogan falling on him felt like it was happening in slow mo. It's like, yeah, that was just painfully awkward. If you pointed it out and were doing that deliberately as a joke, then it works. And then, everyone's laughing at it. But I feel like they were going in with the intention of this is a serious action chase scene right now. And it's just kind of slow. So, unfortunate. So, I don't know what it is about Robert Rodriguez, and him having like two of the worst action sequences in all of Star Wars suddenly. I mean, it's very easy to name better ones, but it's like I'm hesitate to say that there are worse action sequences out there in Star Wars than these two. I would be interested. Maybe some of the fights for like the Clone Wars movie or something like that, just because that's a show you're figuring itself out. So there's a couple awkward moments in that, but I don't really think the fights were the problem with the Clone Wars movie. So anyway, yeah, but overall good episode. I did enjoy it. I don't think that like the Tusken Raiders being quote unquote written out or fridged or whatever people are saying, I don't think that's necessarily a problem because I don't think they have completely been fridged. I mean, most of them, yeah, probably. But them as a whole, no, I think they still have a part to play more than just Boba is sad. So, because it is his fault. And so if you write, it's like, he's the one that stole the speeder bikes. He's the one that told them to attack the train. He was trying to help them, but it kind of ended up killing everyone instead. So I feel like if he runs into the lady and the kid again, they might be upset. Potentially. So I don't know. So I think I'm fine with that plot point for right now, since I'm pretty sure it's still going places. Like I said, if it doesn't, then I'm like, okay, no, I wanted more of the Tuskens. That was stupid to just write them off suddenly like that. Very lazy and predictable. But like I said, I don't think we're done with them. So that being the biggest gripe people have the episode with the episode, I don't necessarily have a gripe with that. So I really enjoyed this episode. Multicolored speeders aside, it's like there were a couple weird little things with the action sequences, but so nowhere near the level of the first two of quality of the first two episodes. But like I said, this episode was laying a lot of groundwork, doing a lot of setup, and we could have even done without that final slow speed chase at the end, because they could have easily, Boba could have easily blasted the door down with his rocket launcher backpack. And before the mayor's aide could escape. And he's like, all right, start talking before I shoot you in the face. And then he's like, that whole last 5 minutes could have been avoided, and we would have had the exact same outcome without the awkward chase. So, I think it's okay to have an episode like that sometimes. We're not a whole lot in a story like this that is continuous. I think as long as you play your cards right and it's paced correctly, you don't need an action scene happening like routinely, like, oh, it's been 15 minutes, we haven't had an action scene, so we better roll out a speeder chase. I mean, I'm kind of okay with them just, it's Star Wars, it's Boba Fett walking around saying cool things with his cool voice and his cool outfit. So, I mean, I'm kind of okay with him doing that for, an episode and then the next one. And then because we got the ball rolling in this one, the next one is all high octane and he's potentially going to ride a Rancor in the battle, which, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see that. That is going to be amazing. So yeah, good episode. Not as good as the other two, but like I said, setup. So we will see where this setup takes us. So that'll be it for this review. Please please thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Remember to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Those links are in the description below. And I will see you guys next week for another episode of Fett Fridays. And that is it for this review. So thank you for watching and goodbye.